Alright, so the last video had me trying to tune the carburetors and getting this thing running, but yeah, the engine's back out of it. So thought I was getting it close to dialed in, and then it started clicking. The engine started clicking, and I was thinking, well, maybe I have a seized link on a timing chain, because that's what it sounded like. It sounded like timing chain or lifters, which this doesn't have lifters, so you know, it would have been a rocker arm or something. But so I started tearing into it and got a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper, and ended up going all the way down to the crank, and we spun a rod bearing. So not entirely sure why. It had oil pressure, so I'm not really sure what happened. The pickup screen here did have a bunch of crap in it. I haven't cleaned it out all the way. I just dumped some of the crap out when I last saw it, but so I don't know if it starved it momentarily, or God, I don't know. You know, I don't know. So feeling kind of stupid right now, so sorry I didn't get any video tearing it back down. Kind of embarrassed, I guess, but anyway, I've got it torn down, and I'll get you some video of putting it back together. I've got a good used crank and rods coming in. They'll be in Friday. Today's Wednesday, so I'll probably get started on it Friday night. Maybe try to work through the weekend and get it going. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's where we are with that. I guess that's about it for now. I'll get some more later. Oh yeah, I got my new crankshaft. You know, it's not new, it's used, but it's in good shape. The bearings are tight, so we're gonna stick her in. I'll probably plastic gauge them just to be sure, and we'll get them stuck in there. And I got new Sur clips for the pistons. I can get almost the whole thing assembled, except I'm waiting on, let's see, what am I waiting on? Some gaskets and the oil pump parts. Now, if any of you ever, what did I do with it? Go to rebuild. Actually, I think did I bolt it back on? Alright, I think it's I'm not sure what I did with it. At any rate, if any of you ever have any scoring or scratching or chipping or anything on your oil pump, just replace the parts. They're like $6 a piece, and there's 2 of them, so $12. You've got yourself a rebuilt oil pump. Not a big deal. Cheap insurance. Alright, so I got my used crankshaft put in there, and I noticed that for some reason the bearing had slid a little bit away, so when I put it in, it wasn't quite seated down to the seal all the way, so I pulled it back out and tapped the bearing back down. So if you guys are doing the same procedure, make sure that bearing is seated all the way. It's a snug fit, it's not a press fit, so you can tap it. I also noticed when I was cleaning and stuff that there was a gap right here that didn't seem right, and so I pulled up the parts breakdown and found out that there's supposed to be a spacer in there, and it was missing. Now whether it fell out while I was monkeying around, because this gear did come off, so it's likely that it did fall off and just got lost in this black hole of a garage. But I don't know for sure. But anyway, couldn't get a new one till next Thursday. Today is Saturday. I really wanted to keep going on it, so I went and went down to Tractor Supply and got some machine bushings. I got 2 different sizes, but this is the one I ended up using, 3/4 by 1.25 inch, 14 gauge. And then I took a die grinder with a stone, and you see that the stone's all chewed up, so you're pretty much going to ruin a stone doing it, but and then just ground it down to the point where it would fit over the shaft, and it actually turned out pretty close to round. And then so I'm apparently pretty good at that sort of thing. And then ground the outside down so it wouldn't interfere with this, and I'll probably heat it up and put some hardening on it, and we'll keep going back together. Alright, so I had to backtrack and take this. So we got the case half back off. Case half put back together. Output shaft wouldn't turn. I cleaned it out just with an air hose and starting fluid. What I ended up doing was I took this using brake clean when I can, because and took another look at it. Turns out it was too thick. So what I did was starting fluid. I got this 7/8 by 1 3/8 by 18 gauge, and it was too big around. There's another one laying around here somewhere. I'm gonna get everything on and torque down, and we'll flip it back up, and start putting the jugs on. Just have to grind this outer edge down to the point where it would shift. Parts for the pump and in between the. I think that might be it. The teeth on the shift collar, the reverse. Till they show up. Be the reverse input collar. Just leave this shift collar hanging open. I guess I could still put the engine in, and both of them would have to reach over this. So this hole's a little bit too big, but I just ground it to where it would sit inside, and then the input fork, or the input collar rather, reverse input collar, holds it pretty well centered, so it's not a big deal. And again, I heated it up and hardened it just in case. It shouldn't take too much abuse. It's really just to keep the gears from slapping back and forth in there. That whole shaft would be able to kind of slap back and forth. So when you romped on the throttle in reverse, well, in any gear, mostly in reverse though, you'd feel it kind of clunk, but that just takes up that space, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue that it's not the factory one. It's just one that I hardened myself. It doesn't need to be too hard. I just wanted it to be harder than mild steel. So now I get everything bolted back together again and move on from there. Alright, everything is back together that needs to be back together before it gets stuffed back into the frame. The compression ended up at, let's see, we got 48 on this one and 58 on this one. So that'll work. They're both within spec, so I imagine it's really going to crank up because those are high compression pistons, and once the rings seat, it's probably gonna really hit the roof. But I guess I'm about ready to manhandle it in there.